Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ben here. I am back again today doing another video, and today we're going to be talking about specifically the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis, and basically what I think are the major flaws in how the Bucks have organized their team, and just generally, if I were them, what I would do to improve their team. I'll be following this up with a few other videos about the Bucks. The first one is after this is going to be about trades that the Bucks could do to improve the team and keep Giannis and entice him to stay. And the third video is going to be about trades that the Bucks might have to do in case Giannis wants to leave. So those are going to be this kind of trio of videos I'm going to do about the Bucks. But this first one is going to be more of a general one, just kind of talking about Milwaukee as a team in general, and basically what I think are the mistakes that they've made in structuring their team and how to fix them going forward. So I think the Bucks have actually, overall, I think they've done a fairly decent job of forming this team around Giannis. You know, you've got Middleton, who's an all-star, albeit not a perennial awesome all-NBA caliber all-star, but he is an all-star. You got Lopez, who's a really good supporting player. You've got Bledsoe, who is good for about 15 to 18 points a game depending on the night, and good for stellar defense as well. And then you've got, I guess you'd say after that, kind of a plethora of really role player guys like DiVincenzo, Pat Connaughton, Wesley Matthews, Marvin Williams, Ersan Ilyasova. Those are the main guys to me. But I guess if you're really trying to narrow it down, the core of this team is those top four dudes that I mentioned: Giannis, Middleton, Bledsoe, and Brook, and everybody else around them is kind of a role player. I guess you could throw in DiVincenzo into that core as well. But when you look at how the Bucks play, their main style is this thing that the Orlando Magic did back in the day, which is like almost every other team does it now too, or tries to do it to be proficient on offense, but it's a 4-out, 1-in style where you have basically 4 shooters on the perimeter surrounding one player who scores on the interior. So the Magic were one of the first teams to popularize this. Also, actually the Phoenix Suns, they didn't really do it in 05, but the Magic in 09, from about 2007 to 2011, I'd say actually, were doing this, where they had Dwight Howard scoring on the interior and posting up, and then you'd have like Hedo Turkoglu, Rashard Lewis, Jameer Nelson, and then either Courtney Lee or JJ Redick on the perimeter. And so that defenses had to pick: do you want to guard the perimeter and allow Dwight to have his way with whoever on the inside, or do you want to guard Dwight, probably end up double teaming him, and allow him to dish it to a guy for an open 3-point shot? It's kind of a pick your poison scenario, and the Bucks have implemented that exact same offense, except instead of having it be a post up to Dwight, it's basically Giannis driving to the rim. And so the problem with that, and the Magic ran into this too, is that when you have a competent rim protector, like for instance, the Heat have one in Bam, or the Raptors would have had one in Serge Ibaka, or the Lakers with either JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, or Anthony Davis. That style doesn't work because they just sit in the paint, and then you can't really score with Giannis. So then I guess you're hoping that Brook Lopez, the center who shoots threes, is knocking down threes. But to me, Brook Lopez is the key here, because you're essentially banking on him being a good 3-point shooter. And I think a big reason they failed this year, and this is just my opinion, but Brook Lopez was not nearly as good of a shooter as he was last year from 3. I believe his percentage dropped from like 36% to like 31%, and as you may know, 35% is the average in the NBA. So shooting 31% is pretty below average actually for shooting the volume that Brook did, which was about 6 or 7 a game. And so to me, I think that you can fix this team in a couple of ways, but I actually think getting rid of Brook Lopez or trading him is the first step, and I know it seems weird because he's been such a good piece for this team, but I think about it in this way. So a big appeal of Al Horford or Brook Lopez the past 2 years was this idea that, like, when Al Horford was on the Celtics, man, he's such a good three-point shooter for a center. Or Brook Lopez, he's such a good three-point shooter for a center. But in my opinion, why don't the Bucks just put Giannis at the center and get a guy out there who can shoot threes at a much better clip than Brook and just have him play power forward? So for instance, like if they were to pick up like Jeremy Grant in the offseason, which is a name that gets thrown around a lot because he's a really good three-point shooter and defender, but even if they don't get him and they just keep somebody like Marvin Williams, I believe having Marvin Williams out there, who is a much better knockdown shooter than Brook Lopez, would be better for this team because number one, he's faster. Number two, he shoots threes at a better clip. Number three, his interior defense as far as rim protection wouldn't be there, but he's a pretty serviceable defender and he can switch out to the wings easier than Brook Lopez can, and his general switchability is a lot better on defense. So for that reason, I think that he would actually be a better lineup would be serviced as Giannis at center. And I know this is sort of trending towards a small ball concept, but to me, that just works a lot better. And it's like Brook Lopez is there because you want a center who can shoot threes. If you're going to have Giannis play power forward and not shoot, and you have to have 4 out with him being in, that means you need a center who shoots threes. And in my opinion, it's just easier to find power forwards or small forwards who can shoot threes rather than a center. And so to me, I would just play Giannis at the 5 and then find a power forward who can shoot threes and try and package like Brook and other assets for a third or second option. Because what I think they really need to do is to try and get a second option who can score at all 3 levels besides Giannis. Because Giannis can score on the inside. His mid-range and 3 are really spotty though, and Middleton can score from 3 in mid-range, but he's not much of a slasher and he doesn't put the ball on the floor very often. So they don't have one player who can score at all 3 levels with great proficiency. Bledsoe can slash and his jumper is pretty consistent at this point. DiVincenzo has flashes of being able to score at all 3 levels, but again, he's way too raw. Lopez can hit knockdown threes or can score in the post, but he can't handle the ball and score from any level. But yeah, as I say, they don't have that one guy that can do it all, and to me, they really need that. And I think the dude who they need, I think if I was the Bucks, my goal would be keep Giannis, keep Middleton, and get rid of whatever else you need to get Bradley Beal. And honestly, if you're asking me, it's probably going to take Bledsoe, Brook Lopez, and Dante DiVincenzo, and like a pick to get Beal. But in my opinion, that's worth it because if you look at this team, what good is it? And you might say that's a lot of rotation players. Well, it is, but the truth is, what good is keeping these guys like Bledsoe and Brook if the ceiling is a second round exit in what was nearly a sweep, except for a 3-point win? I don't see it as being a recipe for success to just repeat this. Like if they just bring back the same core, it's just the same result is gonna happen. So really, to me, you need a guy who is a proficient 3-point shooter, but it's not just that. Right now they have a lot of specialists, as I say. You know, I broke down Lopez, Bledsoe, Middleton. They can all do something well, but not everything well. Same with Korver and Ilyasova. They can shoot threes really well, but they don't score off the dribble. Same with Marvin Williams. He can spot up threes pretty well, but he's kind of like a poor man's PJ Tucker. He can spot up threes, but he doesn't really score off the dribble. And DiVincenzo just he's too raw to be that second option on this team. Way too raw. So to me, I think that you need Bradley Beal, and I don't know how they make it happen, but they need to make it happen. And I think, you know, the best ammunition they have to get him is Brook and Bledsoe and Dante and a first-round pick. And I doubt that Washington would want that, but the idea that I have is, I'll save it for the trade video, but it's basically getting Middleton onto a contender who also has a young asset and flipping that young asset to Washington. And same thing with Lopez, flipping him for a younger asset and giving that to Washington, and then giving the first rounder and DiVincenzo to Washington and getting Beal. And I don't think that that's an overpay at all, because that unlocks this team so much. And let's just hypothetically think about a team that's trotting out something like George Hill, Bradley Beal, Middleton, Marvin Williams, and Giannis. To me, that's like a phenomenal death lineup. And right now, like the Bucks lineup, it's with Lopez. Like their death lineup, you'd say, is like Lopez, Giannis, Middleton, DiVincenzo, and Bledsoe. That's a good lineup, but honestly, that whole NBA scene, you can pretty much plot for it and stop it, because everybody specializes in one thing or two things, but not everything. And that's what stopped the Magic in 2009, and that's what stopped the Cavaliers in 2009, and that's what stopped the Bucks this year, is that they have this phenomenal talent, whether it be Dwight or LeBron on the early Cavs or Giannis on this team, and they can score on the inside really well, but if you have a rim protector, you can stop them. Like for the Cavs, it was Dwight. For Dwight, it was a combination of, I guess you would say it was Andrew Bynum. And for Giannis, it was Bam Adebayo. But if you have guys who can play well in the paint and defend well in the paint, that main star becomes a lot less useful, and you're left with all these specialists. Like for the Magic, it was a bunch of three-point shooters who were then forced to put the ball on the floor a lot more, and were not able to do that well in the finals versus the Lakers. Same thing with the Cavaliers and LeBron versus the Magic. You were relying on guys like Mo Williams and Delonte West to become off-the-dribble scorers, which they were not. And this year with the Bucks, obviously, guys like Middleton and who am I thinking of? Middleton, Williams, Brook Lopez. In this playoff series versus the Heat, they were asked to do a lot more than just their typical spot-up shooting, and so I just think, yeah, they really need a guy who can score at every level. And not that he would be not that like if you get a guy like Beal, he'd be the first option. He still wouldn't be, but you would just have so much more versatility than what you have right now with Giannis and the current core. So there you go, guys. That's my take, is that although the 4-out, 1-in offense is in theory a very good offense, the thing is you can plot for it, and if you have a guy who can protect the rim and doesn't need a double team, then you basically have no course of action, because none of the shooters are open and your dude is not getting easy shots in the paint, so you really have to work a lot harder for your offense. So that's just a quick analysis of what the Bucks need to do. I think it's all an offensive issue, none of a defensive issue. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll be coming back with a few more on some trade scenarios and possible Giannis destinations, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.